Hey dears, Whimsy here, and I'm really excited to talk to you today about a cool new English release on Shonen Jump called Gokurakugai by Yuto Sano. The story takes place in a bustling red lights district and centers around Dao and Alma, who are professional troubleshooters who take on odd jobs for a price. That is, unless you happen to tug on their heartstrings or your problem involves a type of supernatural monster called a manga, in which case they'll help you for free. Now, I've had my eye on this series since it was first a one-shot, so it's really cool to see its world and main characters get expanded upon and developed into a full monthly series on Jump SQ. And now its first 6 chapters just came out in a big batch, so I want to give my overall first impressions of the manga so far. And in order to do that and go into more depth and dissect what's going on, yes, there will be spoilers from here on out for Gokurakugai, as well as the first season of Jujutsu Kaisen. Consider yourself warned, and with that said, let's dive in. For starters, I think what jumps out to me most about this manga are its characters. We have this fun, colorful cast who still care for each other despite living in an otherwise corrupt, harsh world, and that's what makes the story so compelling for me. Just take a look at Dao, for instance. At first glance, she comes off as gruff and intimidating, but underneath it all, she secretly still has a good heart. Plus, I can't deny she's super hot, and she's a total badass with a gun. And she's the reason why I started the series in the first place, and for her alone, this manga is worth reading for me. Okay, enough thirsting before I go to horny jail. Moving on, next I want to talk about the changes and additions that have been made to the story since the one-shot. One thing that has stayed the same in the serialization is the concept of beastmen, which are human-animal hybrids who are discriminated against and treated as second-class citizens. We see this a little bit with the Catboy Yuki, who is introduced to us in the first chapter. However, with the serialization, I feel like we are now getting a lot more supernatural, fantastical elements, and maybe even an influence of Shintoism. For instance, we now have a new enemy called Maga, aka Calamities, who are abominations believed to come from resurrected corpses and have a craving for flesh. I say believed here because something shady is going on, and there might be a different origin for Maga, or at least multiple methods for creating them. For instance, in Chapter 4, we meet 2 suspicious individuals named Mr. Yomi and Yoru, and Yoru attempts to and fails to turn a woman into a Maga by force-feeding her a mysterious pill. And one interesting thing I want to point out here about the names Yomi and Maga are that they both have ties to Shintoism. You see, there are gods called Yasumagatsuhi no Kami who govern disasters and come from Yomi, aka the underworld, and some of this might sound familiar if you've ever read or watched Noragami. So I feel like it's pretty strongly hinted at that Mr. Yomi and Yoru are the ones currently behind the scenes pulling the strings and are behind the influx of Maga and disappearances that are currently going on within the story. In fact, the premise kind of reminds me of Jujutsu Kaisen, where Mahito is going around turning humans into curses. And when Yuji's faced with the prospect of killing his friend Junpei because he's been turned into a curse, it emotionally destroys him. I'm bracing myself and hoping to see Alma placed in a similar predicament because I'm a bit of a sadomasochist. I want to feel pain and emotional angst in my fiction. So yeah, overall, this manga feels super promising to me. The characters and the world have a certain charm to them. The artwork is fantastic, and I can't wait to see where the story goes from here.